The following day dawned, with Roman approaching Kevin with an air of anticipation. He disclosed a secret to Kevin, a technique of mana enhancement that carried with it an aura of danger. Kevin, taken aback by this revelation, couldn't fathom why Roman would teach him such a perilous skill. The notion of Roman instructing him in the ways of mana enhancement was a surprise in itself. In Roman's mind, this technique was no ordinary skill. It was a page from the ancient martial arts manual, the Soul Spirit God technique, once wielded by the Mad Demon and securely stored in the main house's treasury. Roman believed this technique was far from ordinary. It was a perilous method that consumed the user's spirit. It granted power in the face of extreme pain, even when the user had lost all limbs. The Mad Demon had mastered it under intense agony, becoming a valuable asset to Roman. Convinced of Kevin's potential, Roman felt that if Kevin had the resolve to sever his own hand willingly, he possessed the capability to grasp this technique. It was not just any technique, it was a potent force that demanded unwavering spirit. Roman stressed the dangers, cautioning Kevin about the toll it would take on his spirit. The technique required a resilience that surpassed the trials of yesterday. Roman saw this mana technique as a catalyst for Kevin's growth, a means to make him progressively stronger. Despite the perils, Roman believed it was the fastest way to impart mana knowledge to a teenager lacking the basics. If Kevin could master this technique, he would possess the strength to safeguard everything dear to him. Listening to Roman's words, Kevin felt a surge of happiness. Not only had Roman saved him from the clutches of Bloodfang, but now he was also bestowing a powerful technique upon him. Gratitude welled up within Kevin, and he couldn't help but express his feelings. There was, however, a burning question in Kevin's mind, one he hesitated to ask. Kevin, overwhelmed with emotion, finally questioned Roman about the depth of trust he had placed in him. He admitted that despite swearing loyalty to Roman and pledging his life, he hadn't demonstrated his worth. In a moment of vulnerability, Kevin even confessed his fear of potentially running away after acquiring the technique. He sought an understanding from Roman, wanting to know why the young master had such unwavering trust in him. Roman, with a subtle smile, responded with a simple yet profound answer: just because. Surprise rippled across Kevin's face as Roman disclosed the perilous nature of the mana enhancement technique he was about to teach. Nevertheless, Roman reassured Kevin that their training would commence the following day, urging him to rest for the remainder of the day. As Roman exited, he found himself ruminating on Kevin's inquiry about trust, a question that resonated with a similar one posed by the Mad Demon in Roman's past life. In Roman's reflections, he concluded that unconditional trust could only be attained when someone truly believed in another. Despite initial doubts, Roman harbored a deep conviction that Kevin would never betray him. The rationale lay in the understanding that, as Kevin grew stronger, he would realize the inherent danger in betraying the Heavenly Demon. The scene transitioned to the training grounds of Dimitry on the next day, where Roman initiated Kevin into the basics of the technique. Stressing the foundational importance of correct movements, Roman underlined that every action hinged on mastering these fundamentals. Kevin absorbed the teachings, understanding the significance of focus in executing each movement accurately. On the periphery, Chris watched with a sense of boredom and confusion. He couldn't comprehend why Roman was dedicating time to teach swordsmanship to Kevin, a seemingly peculiar choice. Adding to his frustration was the fact that Roman seemed to be neglecting Chris himself. Initially, Chris had believed that aligning himself with Roman would be a shortcut to rapid strength gains. Now, however, he felt like a mere bystander, contemplating a return to Jonathan for guidance. Days rolled by, and Chris's impatience grew. Approaching Roman, he candidly expressed his frustration, acknowledging that the initial week had been spent on Roman's personal training. The subsequent week had him relegated to the sidelines while Kevin basked in Roman's attention. Feeling overlooked and neglected, Chris questioned whether Roman's behavior was a consequence of his initial rudeness. Chris extended a sincere apology if that were the case, expressing a genuine desire for guidance. He pleaded with Roman to extend the same level of teaching to him, asserting confidence in his ability to grasp any skill Roman had to offer. After the revelation, Roman leaned in, reminding Chris of his previous counsel to learn through observation. Chris, taken aback, sought clarification, questioning whether Roman intended for him to literally watch and learn. Roman, with a calm demeanor, explained the intricacies of individual learning styles. For Kevin, a novice, Roman needed to guide him from the inception of his journey until he reached a certain level of expertise. In contrast, Chris possessed a different approach. Regardless of Roman's teachings, Chris tended to force himself into learning rather than embracing a genuine understanding. Slightly perplexed, Chris probed Roman about the possibility of continuing to observe. Roman, however, dismissed the idea by tossing a wooden sword towards Chris, indicating that tangible results were necessary for Chris to accept the truth. The wooden sword symbolized a challenge, a test of Chris's abilities. Curiosity etched on his face, Chris questioned the purpose of the wooden sword. Roman, ever the strategic mentor, explained that Chris needed to demonstrate concrete results to grasp the reality of his current skill level. The ensuing challenge was a spar, but not a conventional one. Roman proposed a face-off between Chris and Kevin with a twist. Roman would offer guidance to Kevin on how to defeat Chris. Essentially, Kevin would become a reflection of Roman's prowess. This proposition left both Kevin and Chris visibly surprised. Roman emphasized that even though Kevin was Chris's immediate opponent, Roman's advice would tip the scales, making Kevin a mirror image of Roman's combat style. Roman informs Chris that if following their current sparring session, Chris remains convinced of his correctness, Roman will take on the responsibility of personally teaching Chris. Chris becomes upset at the prospect of having to spar with this beginner. Undeterred, Chris reluctantly accepted the challenge, declaring his readiness to prove that he was not a mere pushover. The stage was set for a spar between Kevin and Chris, an unexpected match that would unravel the complexities of their respective learning journeys. As the two contenders faced each other, tension hung in the air. Kevin, the novice, voiced his concerns, seeking guidance from Roman about sparring with a two-star knight like Chris. Roman acknowledged Kevin's disadvantage, but seized the opportunity to impart a crucial life lesson. He drew parallels between those stronger than Kevin in the world, including the oppressive Blood Fang and Chris, who harbored eagerness to assert dominance over Kevin. In Roman's eyes, this spar was not merely a physical contest, but a reflection of life's challenges. Kevin, despite his disadvantages, had nothing to lose from defeat. Roman's wisdom extended beyond the training grounds, encompassing the harsh realities of the world they inhabited. When Roman questioned Kevin's passive approach, Kevin decided to take it seriously. He assured Roman that he was willing to give it a shot and prepared to face Chris with newfound determination. Witnessing Kevin's transformation, Chris felt annoyed to spar with what seemed like an inexperienced novice, puzzled by Kevin's unexpected confidence. As the match began under Roman's watchful eye, Chris charged at Kevin with full force. Despite Kevin's attempts to block Chris's attacks, he struggled to maintain control of his wooden sword. Chris swiftly changed the sword's direction, causing Kevin to lose his grip. In a surprising twist, Chris delivered a powerful knee strike to Kevin's stomach, sending him tumbling to the ground. As Kevin found himself sprawled on the ground, Roman's voice echoed in his mind, urging him to rise. Responding to the telepathic command, Kevin pushed himself up. The unexpected communication came with an explanation from Roman, introducing Kevin to the concept of sound conduction, a method of delivering instructions through mana. Intrigued and slightly bewildered, Kevin listened as Roman informed him that he would receive instructions through this unique technique. Kevin's surprise lingered as he realized that even communication through mana was within the realm of possibilities. Roman wasted no time and immediately put the method into action. "Throw yourself to the right," came Roman's first command. Focused and determined, Kevin swiftly moved to the right, narrowly dodging an incoming attack from Chris. The sudden agility surprised not only Chris, but also Kevin himself. Roman's telepathic guidance had proven effective, showcasing the potential of this unconventional training method. Encouraged by the success of the first maneuver, Roman directed Kevin to turn around and aim for Chris's left chest. Kevin followed the instruction meticulously, demonstrating a level of precision that caught Chris off guard. However, Chris, relying on his seasoned skills, managed to evade Kevin's strike with a deft move, leaving Kevin momentarily vulnerable. Seizing the opportunity, Chris retaliated with a swift kick aimed at Kevin's stomach. The impact sent a jolt through Kevin's body, but he managed to withstand the blow through sheer determination. Reflecting on the experience, Kevin acknowledged that while he had followed Roman's instructions accurately, the speed of his attack had left him susceptible to Chris's countermove. Undeterred, Roman guided Kevin to block an attack from above. Kevin, trusting in Roman's instructions, raised his wooden sword just in time to intercept Chris's downward swing. The successful defense showcased not only Kevin's growing skills, but also the effectiveness of Roman's telepathic training method. The next command came swiftly. Roman instructed Kevin to escape to the right. However, before Kevin could execute the maneuver, Chris seized the moment and landed a solid punch directly on Kevin's face. The force sent Kevin sprawling back to the ground, momentarily stunned by the unexpected blow. Chris, finding the situation amusing, acknowledged Kevin's resilience but maintained the belief that Kevin was no match for Roman. As the match continued, Kevin grappled with the realization that his body struggled to keep up with Roman's commands. Despite the setback, he marveled at the precision with which Chris moved in response to Roman's guidance. In Kevin's perspective, Chris seemed like a puppet being manipulated by Roman, each move a calculated step in a larger strategy. Roman, undeterred by the temporary setback, instructed Kevin to turn his body towards the right and charge forward to counterattack. Eager to prove himself, Kevin followed the command, aiming to catch Chris off guard. However, Chris, displaying his prowess, skillfully dodged Kevin's counterattack and swiftly responded with a powerful punch to Kevin's face. Chris, confident in his prowess, believed he was on the offensive, attempting to strike Kevin down. However, Kevin, seemingly one step ahead, continuously eluded critical moments and retaliated with counterattacks that took Chris by surprise. Chris began to question whether Kevin's strategic maneuvers were mere coincidences or a display of calculated skill. Observing Chris's struggle, Kevin, despite being considered Dimitry's greatest genius, saw a stark contrast between his abilities and the true skills possessed by young Master Roman. In Kevin's eyes, Roman's mastery surpassed that of any individual, making him a figure worthy of unwavering loyalty. Despite the logical inconsistency of pledging allegiance to someone in such a manner, Kevin felt compelled to follow Roman's guidance, seeing it as an absolute directive. Following Roman's telepathic instruction, Kevin charged at Chris with all his might. The intensity of their exchange pushed Kevin to the edge, physically and mentally. Acknowledging Kevin's fatigue, Chris, with a hint of concern, warned him that continuing could result in the deformation of one of his body parts. Instead of showing fear, Kevin surprised both Chris and Roman by smirking. In that moment, Kevin's confidence signaled a determination to face whatever physical consequences lay ahead, showcasing an unwavering resolve that intrigued and perplexed his opponents. Undeterred by Chris's warning, Kevin proposed continuing the spar until the end with a confident smile on his face. This unexpected turn of events caught Chris off guard, who, now facing a seemingly tireless opponent, charged at Kevin with heightened killer intent. The intensity of their clash escalated, and just as Chris was about to close in on Kevin, Roman intervened with a strategic twist. Following Roman's guidance, Kevin pressed forward unexpectedly. Chris, expecting Kevin to retreat, was taken aback by this change in tactic. Seizing the opportunity, Roman directed Kevin to turn around and charge again. Chris, sensing an opening in Kevin's attack, struck with the anticipation of Kevin's next move. To everyone's surprise, Kevin deftly dodged Chris's attack and countered with a powerful swing of his wooden sword. In an unexpected turn, Chris, displaying agility and quick thinking, ducked and unleashed a forceful counterattack that sent Kevin flying to the ground. The spar concluded, leaving both combatants with a newfound respect for each other's abilities. Roman, analyzing the entire sequence, concluded that Chris had strategically swung his sword with the anticipation of Kevin's ducking and correctly expected the second attack to be a feint. Back on the ground, Chris, still processing the intensity of the spar, was genuinely surprised by the challenge Kevin had posed. Roman, ever the insightful mentor, approached and acknowledged Chris as the winner. True to his promise, Roman offered to personally teach Chris starting from the next day. However, Roman left the decision in Chris' hands, emphasizing that he had the choice in this matter. In the quiet solitude of his room, Chris found himself reflecting on the recent spar with Kevin, questioning the motives behind engaging in a battle that seemed to offer him nothing to gain from a victory. As he replayed the scenarios in his mind, Chris couldn't help but recognize the time he had seemingly wasted and the near defeat he had narrowly avoided in the final maneuvers. The echoes of that challenging encounter brought to mind a similar situation he had experienced during a spar with Roman, a day etched into his memory through countless mental replays. The profound impact of that past experience with Roman became evident to Chris as he contemplated the recent spar with Kevin. He realized that without the insights gained from his encounters with Roman, overcoming Kevin without relying on aura would have presented a significant challenge. A smile crept onto Chris's face as he acknowledged the tangible growth resulting from that singular experience. The next day, as the practice resumed, Roman, ever perceptive, approached Chris, inquiring about his preferences moving forward. In response, Chris expressed a desire to navigate his journey towards strength independently. He assured Roman that he didn't need personal instruction and was determined to seek growth by following young Master Roman's lead. It was a testament to Chris's evolving mindset, acknowledging the value of learning and self-discovery. Reflecting on the spar with Kevin, Chris marveled at the precision of Kevin's decisions in every situation. Contrary to Chris's initial belief, he realized that Roman had indeed provided instructions to Kevin during their exchange. Chris's misconception gave way to a profound understanding that in attempting to decipher Roman's decisions, his mind had become a receptacle for invaluable teachings. Chris's newfound confidence emanated from this realization that the young master, once perceived as a defeated figure, had evolved into a source of profound wisdom and strategic insight. Observing Roman with fresh eyes, Chris speculated about the remarkable transformation that had taken place, even surpassing the esteemed Captain Jonathan in prowess and understanding. The phrase "observe and learn" took on a deeper meaning for Chris. He interpreted it not as a mere directive, but as an invitation to enlighten himself while closely observing Roman's every move. With this revelation, Chris made a resolute commitment to continue observing and learning from Roman until he surpassed the current limits of his own abilities. As Chris dedicated himself to this newfound path, Roman, pleased with the young knight's dedication, instructed Kevin to continue with his training. The narrative pivots to the bustling market, where the air is charged with gossip about the shattered engagement between Roman Dimitry and Flora Lawrence. Rumors swirl that Flora's blunder during Viscount Lawrence's announcement played a pivotal role, as many speculate that the Viscount, protective of his cherished daughter, couldn't bear to see her linked to the perceived foolishness of Dimitry. The timing of the breakup, just on the brink of war with Barco, prompts some to suggest that Dimitri's eldest son is even more problematic than the circulating rumors imply. However, amid the speculations, a counter-narrative emerges, championing the idea that Roman himself vanquished the notorious Blood Fang. Yet the majority perceive this as a strategic move to salvage Roman's reputation in the aftermath of the broken engagement. Transitioning to the Barco's palace, the eldest Barco son grapples with disbelief over Roman's decision to sever ties with the Lawrence family. Anthony Barco, seeing Roman as pliable, contemplates the unfolding scenario. His trusted butler confirms Roman's participation in an upcoming party, substantiated by a letter from the Dimitrys. Anthony, confident in the success of his machinations, eagerly awaits the impending event, noting that his excitement for a party hasn't been this palpable in quite some time. The scene shifted, and a week later, the day of the social gathering hosted by the Barcos arrived. The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation as the aristocratic elite gathered for the occasion.